Imagine sinking into a world so dark your own heartbeat feels like the loudest sound for miles. A world where glowing creatures write messages in light. Volcanoes breathe superheated water, and animals grow either monstrously huge or comically tiny just to survive. Down here, pressure can crush steel, methane becomes a buffet, and predators hunt with invisible lasers, lures, and jaws that unhinge like biological trapdoors. It's a place where microbes feast on rock, robot explorers roam like cautious metal ghosts, and entire ecosystems thrive without a single ray of sunlight. But this silent realm, this ancient, alien world beneath the waves, is also in danger, threatened by noise, mining, and pollution from a surface it never asked to meet. Welcome to the deep sea, Earth's darkest frontier, its greatest mystery, and maybe its most important teacher. Stay with me, because the deeper we go, the stranger and more extraordinary this story becomes. It always begins with the kind of silence that feels like it has weight. A silence so dense and ancient, it could probably win an award for Best Supporting Atmosphere in a nature documentary. Imagine sinking slowly through the upper layers of the ocean, leaving behind the sunlit chaos of waves, gulls, and boats that sound like disgruntled lawnmowers. With every meter downward, the world narrows. Colours fade. The surface becomes a memory. And then, almost without noticing when it happened, you find yourself inside a silence so absolute, it feels like the ocean has politely muted the planet. This is the opening curtain of the deep sea, a place where sound does travel. Yes, but the human experience of it, especially from our limited landlubber perspective, is one of vacuum-like stillness. It is the quiet before every story, a kind of cosmic pause button. The ocean didn't plan it that way, but nature accidentally created the greatest dramatic entrance in history. It is the kind of quiet that makes you think you can hear your own thoughts echoing off your dive helmet, which is both comforting and mildly concerning. Down here, silence behaves less like nothing is happening and more like everything is watching, but very politely. The creatures that live at these depths do not rely on sound the way we do. Many of them don't even have the biological equivalent of a microphone. They rely on light cues, chemical trails, pressure differences, subtle signals that don't disturb the water with unnecessary noise. If humans moved into the deep ocean, we'd probably be immediately evicted for excessive volume. At first, that quiet might feel unnatural, because on land, we're used to life shouting for attention. Birds yell sunrise announcements, insects hum like broken phone chargers, and humans are walking megaphones with opinions. But the deep ocean prefers minimalism. Picture a world where speaking at full volume is as out of place as yelling in a library run by giant squid. It's not forbidden, exactly, but you will get the side eye from something with far too many tentacles. As you sink deeper, that silence starts to create a strange emotional effect. The mind begins to stretch into the emptiness, trying to fill it with meaning. The darkness around you becomes a canvas for imagination. You start wondering what kind of creatures are actually out there, lurking just beyond the glow of your lights, silent, invisible, and perfectly comfortable. You imagine eyes the size of saucers and bodies shaped like biological experiments that forgot to read the instructions. And the best part, many of them actually look like that. Down here, evolution took one look at the rulebook and said, "I'd rather freelance." There is something humbling about realizing that most of Earth's biosphere, the majority of all livable space, exists in this deep, unlit quiet. Humans occupy a thin film on the planet's surface, loudly debating coffee temperatures, while beneath us stretches a kingdom that doesn't bother with such trivialities. Down here, every life form's priority is simply to endure. Silence becomes a survival strategy, a way for predator and prey alike to avoid becoming someone else's midnight snack. When you live in darkness so complete it feels like a cosmic blackout, the last thing you want to do is announce your presence by making noise. It's like living in a horror movie, but everyone has learned to tiptoe. This absence of familiar sound also creates a kind of sensory reset. Your brain, starved of audio input, begins to magnify small details. The faint hiss of your own breathing equipment, the gentle crackle of shifting thermal layers, the distant thrum of your own heartbeat amplified through your ribcage. Some divers say the silence feels alive, which sounds poetic until you realize that it very well might be. The deep sea is full of organisms listening, sensing, observing in ways we barely understand. If the ocean had a social network, this place would be the ghost mode zone where everyone watches but no one posts. The silence also sets the stage for the deep sea's greatest surprise: how dramatically different this environment is from our everyday world. It's like stepping backstage in a theatre and discovering that the quiet, dark hallway is actually where the most interesting stuff happens. Up top, sunlight dictates everything. Weather, seasons, biology, your weekend beach plans. But down here, stripped of light, life has had to improvise. It has invented glowing organs, pressure-resistant skeletons, mouth shapes that defy geometry, and hunting strategies that make terrestrial predators look like enthusiastic amateurs. And it all starts with this enveloping, almost sacred quiet. There is a moment, somewhere between the upper blue and the abyssal black, when you stop interpreting the silence as emptiness and start understanding it as invitation. The deep ocean isn't silent because nothing lives there. It's silent because everything has mastered the art of being unnoticed. Down here, subtlety rules. This is not the world of roaring lions or screeching parrots. This is the world of patient shadows, drifting lights, and creatures that move as if they're trying not to wake the sea. And that's the hook the deep offers us. Not terror, not spectacle, but mystery wrapped in quiet. The silence is the doorway. Step through it, and the real story begins. Sound behaves strangely when you drop it into the ocean, almost as if the water decides to give it a free upgrade. In air, sound waves wobble along like someone jogging with untied shoelaces. But underwater, the molecules are packed so tightly that sound travels faster, farther, and with the kind of confidence usually reserved for people who know all the answers in a trivia night. This dense medium lets sound race forward more than 4 times faster than it does above the waves, turning the ocean into a long-distance broadcasting system that makes even the most powerful radios jealous. If you could shout underwater without drowning, your voice might carry for kilometers, which is great news if you've ever wanted to complain loudly about your malfunctioning snorkel to someone on another continent. Yet, despite this underwater superpower, humans perceive the deep sea as eerily quiet. It's not because there's nothing to hear. Far from it. The ocean is alive with rumbling, clicking, groaning, snapping, singing, and occasionally whatever noise a squid makes when it regrets its life choices. But our bodies are not built to detect these sounds. Our ears expect the cushy, low-density air of the surface, and once submerged, they lose most of their directional abilities. It's like trying to listen to a podcast while your ears are stuffed with marshmallows. Information is still happening, but it becomes very hard to interpret. Marine animals, on the other hand, are professionals at this. Many species have evolved internal structures that pick up vibrations with astonishing precision. Some fish detect pressure changes through specialized lateral lines. Marine mammals have entire skulls shaped like acoustic antennas, funneling sound into fatty tissues that carry information straight to the inner ear. If a dolphin had access to human hearing, it would probably hand it back with a polite note saying, "Thank you, but I'll stick with the deluxe version." Meanwhile, we dive into the ocean and instantly become the auditory equivalent of someone who lost their glasses in a movie theater. The deep sea's soundscape is especially fascinating because it's full of low-frequency noises that can travel enormous distances. Blue whales, for instance, produce calls so deep that humans can't hear them without special equipment. These bass-heavy sounds roll through the water like underwater thunder, crossing entire ocean basins. One whale might be communicating with another thousands of kilometers away. To them, the ocean is anything but silent. It is a planetary conversation, a slow, resonant exchange of information between giants who prefer their messaging system to operate at tectonic speed. Imagine sending a text message, but instead of using a phone, you bellow into the sea and wait for the signal to surf the sea floor like a very determined sound wave. But it's not all gentle whale songs drifting romantically beneath the waves. Much of the deep ocean's acoustic world sounds like nature experimenting with percussion. Shrimp snap their claws with enough force to create tiny bursts of sound that can dominate shallow water areas. Ice sheets rumble and crack as they shift. Submarine volcanoes detonate bubbles of hot gas. Even sand grains sometimes rasp against each other as currents move them across the seafloor. The ocean, if you could hear it properly, would sound less like a quiet cathedral and more like someone assembled a symphony orchestra out of animals, geology, and water pressure. So why, then, does everything feel so quiet when we imagine the deep sea? Part of it is cultural. Humans grow up thinking silence is linked to darkness and emptiness. The deep ocean, being profoundly dark and unfamiliar, gets labelled silent, almost by association. Another part is psychological. When we descend beneath the churning surface, we lose the sounds we expect. Wind, waves, engines. And our brains interpret this sudden sensory drop as silence. Even though it's more like trading one soundtrack for another, we're simply not tuned to appreciate. It's the acoustic version of walking into a room where everyone whispers in a language you don't speak. There is also the matter of how sound behaves vertically in the ocean. In some layers, sound gets trapped in something called the sofa channel, a horizontal band of water where sound travels incredibly efficiently. When a noise enters this layer, it can bounce along it for astonishing distances with very little loss. This is how some whale calls migrate so far, and also how the ocean accidentally turned itself into a natural surveillance system during past decades of submarine monitoring. If you were a sound wave, the SOFAR channel would be your dream highway. No traffic, no speed limits, and no one rolling down a window to ask for directions. Above and below this channel, sound behaves differently. Some layers absorb it, some reflect it, and some warp it. The result is a soundscape full of echoes, distortions, and directional illusions. A noise that seems nearby might be coming from far away. Something loud may sound faint, something faint may sound alarmingly close. This chaotic acoustic reality keeps many deep-sea animals cautious and tuned in, while humans are left feeling like they've stepped into an alien world wearing a malfunctioning headset. And in a sense, we have. The deep ocean wasn't shaped with us in mind. It evolved around creatures who navigate the world through pressure, vibration, and low-frequency cues. To them, sound is a lifeline, a way to find food, mates, or the edges of their territory. To us, it is an almost unreachable language. We might descend into the deep thinking we're entering a silent world, but really we're entering a world that simply doesn't speak our dialect. The silence we feel is not the ocean's silence at all, it's our own. The twilight zone begins the moment sunlight decides it has had enough of travelling and starts to give up, fading into a thin, ghostly blue glow that barely clings to the water. It is a region where day dissolves into something that looks suspiciously like eternal evening. The kind of light level you get when the sun is technically up, but clearly not trying. Descending into this band of ocean feels like walking into a room where someone dimmed the lights halfway and never came back. Nothing is fully illuminated, but nothing is fully hidden either. Shapes drift through the haze like half-formed thoughts. Your eyes keep saying, "Just a little more brightness, please." And the ocean keeps responding, "Nope, that's all you get." This zone, also called the mesopelagic, is not empty at all. In fact, it is teeming with creatures, billions upon billions, yet they float in an ambience so faint that any attempt to see them feels like trying to read a book by refrigerator light. The sun sends down a few photons, just enough to outline the silhouettes of animals, but not enough to reveal their identities. Because of this, the creatures living here have turned stealth into an art form. Their bodies are dark, slender, reflective, ghostly, transparent, basically a gallery of evolutionary ways to say, "Please don't look at me." What makes the Twilight Zone feel surreal is how your perception constantly shifts. One moment you're staring into empty blue. The next, something the size of a paperclip glides past with glowing organs scattered across its body like misplaced LEDs. The zone is filled with animals that treat bioluminescence the way humans treat smartphone flashlights. Something you casually turn on whenever the environment tries to make your life difficult. Except in the ocean's case, the difficulty is surviving long enough to have dinner. Bioluminescence down here is not merely decoration. It is one of the most important survival tools ever invented by life. If evolution had a patent office, the glowing trick would be displayed in the lobby as a masterpiece of molecular engineering. The animals who wield it use their glow for almost everything: communication, disguise, hunting, intimidation, and possibly, in the case of some very dramatic squid, shouting "back off" in light form. Some species produce light to match the faint blue glow from above, a strategy known as counter-illumination. It works like camouflage, but in reverse. Instead of blending into the background behind them, they blend into the light above them. To predators looking upward, they simply vanish into the dim wash of the twilight sea. Imagine trying to spot someone holding a flashlight under their chin in a dark room. Only the flashlight exactly matches the ceiling light. Evolution essentially invented the world's first adjustable brightness setting. Others use bioluminescence as lures. A small fish might drift through the water, flashing tiny blue pulses, hoping to entice plankton to float close enough for an easy meal. Some species have chin lights, eye lights, body lights, tail lights. If the Department of Transportation ever inspected this place, they'd be impressed. Many of these glowing organs are packed with bacteria that live in a cozy partnership with their hosts. The animal provides a safe home, and the bacteria provide light, like tiny roommate fireflies. And then there are the predators, who use light the way magicians use misdirection. One species may cast a brief glow to startle prey into darting the wrong direction, straight into its open mouth. Another might send out little sparkles like underwater glitter, distracting other animals just long enough to strike. Some squid produce clouds of glowing ink that act as decoys, drifting away like illuminated ghost versions of themselves. If you ever wanted to see what a magic show would look like if everything was slimy and floating, this is the neighborhood. Even stranger are the species that use bioluminescence to communicate. Many Twilight Zone animals have light patterns unique to their species, like secret handshakes written in neon. One fish might flash a slow double pulse to signal its presence to a partner. Another species might produce rapid flickers to attract mates. Some create glowing trails that resemble Morse code sent by creatures with no hands and no intention of learning English. Biologists decode these patterns slowly, guessing at their meanings the way one might decode mysterious text messages from aliens who also happen to have fins. The faint sunlight in the Twilight Zone creates one of the most dramatic contrasts in the natural world. The interplay between fading blue light from above and the barrage of biological light from below. It is a slow dance between two worlds, Earth's daylight and the ocean's light show, neither strong enough to overpower the other. The result is a realm that feels half natural, half sci-fi, as though the planet accidentally merged its settings from Earth and cosmic abyss into a single dimly lit hallway. This zone is also where vertical migration happens, the nightly commute of countless animals rising toward the surface to feed under the cover of darkness. During the day, they remain hidden in the twilight, escaping the sight of predators. At night, they ascend like a massive, glowing elevator of life, turning the water column into one of the largest daily movements of biomass on the planet. If you could see it from afar, it would resemble a slow, shimmering parade of creatures, all following an age-old schedule. Spend the day hiding in the half-light, then head up for snacks after sunset. Navigating this world feels like being surrounded by living stars. Little bursts of light flicker in the distance. Trails of glowing plankton swirl past like galaxies on the move. If the surface ocean feels like sky, then the Twilight Zone feels like outer space. Except everything has teeth, fins, or the ability to glow on command. It is beautiful, eerie, and strangely welcoming. A place where life has found a way to paint with light in the absence of the sun. Here, in this dim, eternal blue evening, nature reveals one of its greatest secrets. When the world grows dark, life doesn't fade. It shines. Pressure in the deep ocean is not a gentle suggestion. It is a full-time, heavy-handed negotiator that does not compromise. Every 10 meters you descend adds another layer of weight from the water above. And after a few thousand meters, that weight becomes so immense it feels less like the ocean is sitting on you, and more like it is trying to fold you into its long-term storage compartment. If you ever wish to experience the sensation of being hugged by a hydraulic press, congratulations. This is the zone for you. At the surface, we live under one atmosphere of pressure, which our bodies handle quite comfortably. But drop just 1,000 meters into the ocean, and you're dealing with a pressure equivalent to stacking an entire locomotive on top of yourself. Go deeper, several kilometers down, and you're now carrying the weight of skyscrapers, mountains, and possibly all of your bad decisions combined. This is why deep-sea exploration is so challenging. Humans are built like soft, agreeable bags of water, and the deep ocean is about as forgiving as a tax audit conducted by a shark. If a person could magically teleport to a depth of several thousand meters without protection, the experience would be brief and deeply unflattering. The gases in your body would be crushed, your tissues would collapse, and you would shrink into a shape that future archaeologists might politely describe as not ideal. This is not because the ocean is vindictive. It is simply obeying physics, which has a long history of not caring about anyone's feelings. To survive these depths, humans rely on machines, and those machines behave like anxious metal turtles hoping their shells don't spring a leak. Submarines are built to withstand extreme external pressure, but even the strongest ones creak and groan as they descend. These noises are perfectly normal, though they might make nervous passengers reconsider their life choices. The metal hull compresses slightly under the weight of the water, releasing tiny sounds that resemble old pirate doors swinging open in a haunted ship. Nothing is actually breaking. Hopefully, it's just the submarine clearing its throat under stress. Designing a submersible for deep-sea journeys is like trying to create a coffee can that refuses to crumple, even when the universe really wants it to crumple. Engineers use thick titanium, spherical shapes, and pressure-resistant viewports that look more like miniature planetarium domes than windows. The shape is crucial. A sphere distributes pressure evenly, making it the ideal geometry for surviving the ocean's attempts to squish you. Nature itself seems to agree with this design choice. Because many deep-sea organisms have rounded bodies or flexible shapes that lack rigid structures vulnerable to collapse. This brings us to one of the ocean's most astonishing facts. The creatures living at extreme depths avoid being crushed, not because they are built like tanks, but because many of them are built with almost no air spaces at all. Air is the weak point. Anything containing pockets of gas, lungs, sinuses, inflated swim bladders will collapse under high pressure. Deep-sea animals solve this by simply not having these features. Instead, their bodies are filled with water, gels, and specialized proteins that hold up under crushing conditions. They're like living water balloons, except far more elegant and significantly less disastrous when squeezed. One of the key ingredients that helps deep-sea creatures survive, the immense pressure, is a compound called TMAO, which stabilizes their proteins. With increasing depth, these animals accumulate more and more of it, like pressure-resistant seasoning sprinkled throughout their cells. This helps their biological machinery continue functioning even when the environment tries its best to deform everything into a pancake shape. The deeper a creature lives, the more fortified its molecular structures become, turning it into a finely tuned pressure professional. Some fish in the abyssal depths look surprisingly fragile, almost gelatinous, as though they're made of loosely organized jello. This softness is not a flaw, it's a brilliant strategy. Without rigid bones or dense tissues that could buckle under pressure, their bodies compress just enough to survive without damage. They are flexible in ways land creatures would envy. If you poked one gently, your finger might sink into it like you're touching a firm pudding, which is probably why very few people volunteer for this specific experiment. The challenge, interestingly, goes both ways. While deep-sea creatures handle pressure with ease, bringing them to the surface is another story. Without the crushing weight of the water, their bodies can expand uncontrollably, causing tissues to rupture or organs to malfunction. This is why scientists often use special pressurized containers to transport deep-sea animals for study. Many of these creatures will never be seen alive above a certain depth, because the surface environment is as hostile to them as the abyss is to us. In a sense, we are all creatures perfectly adapted to our respective pressure zones, even if ours is the comfortable, non-squishing kind. Pressure also influences behavior. Some deep-sea animals move slowly, not because they are lazy, but but because the energy required to operate under such physical strain is enormous. Everything from muscle contraction to digestion is affected. Even biochemical reactions behave differently when surrounded by incredible weight. The creatures that thrive here have metabolic systems fine-tuned to operate in an environment where the water around them could flatten a steel barrel. The ocean, in this way, is a world sculpted by pressure. Its valleys, trenches, and plains are shaped by forces so immense they defy intuitive understanding. Yet life has adapted not merely to endure these pressures, but to make them irrelevant. Down in the dark, where the weight of the world literally rests on every living thing, nature doesn't just survive, it relaxes, floats, drifts, and sometimes glows with casual brilliance. The pressure isn't a menace, it's simply the background music of the deep, a constant reminder that life can flourish in places where, by all common sense, it shouldn't. Far below the sunlit waves, where daylight gives up and darkness becomes permanent. The ocean's food web operates with a creativity that would make even the most ambitious chef applaud. Life here doesn't get the luxury of plants photosynthesizing or algae whipping up energy from sunshine. Instead, the deep sea survives on a system built around scavenging, efficiency, and a kind of slow-motion snowfall that drifts downward day and night. This snowfall is not made of ice crystals or fluffy flakes. It's made of tiny organic particles, dead plankton, shed scales, microscopic fecal pellets, fragments of jellies, and the occasional sinking corpse of something that once had dreams. It is fittingly called marine snow, and while it won't be winning any culinary awards for presentation, it is the foundation of one of the largest ecosystems on Earth. Marine snow begins its journey in the bright surface waters, where life is plentiful and messy. As organisms feed, grow, reproduce, and die, bits of them break away and start the slow descent into darkness. A single particle of organic fluff might take weeks to reach the deep sea, drifting through the water column like a lost tourist. Along the way, countless microbes and small animals snack on it, nibbling the snowflakes smaller and smaller until, by the time it reaches the abyss, it resembles the nutritional equivalent of a cracker crumb. Yet down here, even a cracker crumb is welcomed like a 5-course meal. When you live in the deep sea, your standards for fine dining adjust dramatically. Despite the unappetizing ingredients, marine snow drives an elegant and surprisingly structured food web. Tiny deep-sea organisms, including amphipods, worm larvae, and small crustaceans, pick at the sinking particles, gathering enough energy to survive and reproduce. These creatures, in turn, become food for larger predators who have adapted to a feast or famine lifestyle. Every meal counts, every scrap matters, and no nutrient is wasted. If the surface ocean is a bustling supermarket, the deep ocean is a thrift store where everything gets recycled, repurposed, and reused until it vanishes into nothing. Some animals specialize in filtering this falling debris. Certain species of sea cucumbers move slowly across the seafloor like living vacuum cleaners, scooping up sediments and extracting any organic reward hidden within. They leave behind clean trails of processed sand, which is nature's way of saying, someone has already eaten here. Other species, like particular deep-sea worms, poke their feathery feeding structures into the water to catch passing particles. These animals rely on patience, sitting motionless until the ocean delivers its next microscopic snack. If meditation had a biological form, it would probably look like one of these worms waiting for lunch. But marine snow is only part of the story. Every now and then, the deep sea receives deliveries that are far more dramatic. When a large animal dies at the surface, say a whale, the entire carcass eventually sinks. This creates what scientists call a whale fall. But the deep sea likely thinks of it as winning the lottery. A whale fall can support a bustling community of organisms for decades. First come the scavengers, sharks, hagfish, and crustaceans that strip off flesh in a feeding frenzy. Then come the worms and bacteria that break down the leftovers, chewing through fats and oils with enviable enthusiasm. Finally, a specialized set of organisms appears, creatures that thrive on the long-term decomposition of bone lipids. These animals may never encounter another whale in their lifetime, but they are perfectly adapted to make the most of the opportunity while it lasts. Despite the occasional whale jackpot, the deep sea remains a world where scarcity shapes everything. Predators here do not chase prey with the speed and confidence of surface hunters. Instead, they tend to hover, drift, or lurk, conserving energy until something edible passes nearby. Some, like deep-sea grenadiers, cruise slowly just above the sea floor, sniffing out chemical cues left behind by struggling or recently deceased animals. Others wait silently in the dark, using sensitive antennae or tentacles to detect the faintest movement. If surface predators are sprinters, deep-sea predators are marathoners who take frequent naps. The structure of deep-sea food webs is also shaped by a phenomenon known as opportunistic feeding. In the absence of abundant resources, many species will eat whatever fits in their mouths. There is very little room for picky eaters here. A creature may dine on marine snow one day, nibble on a jelly fragment the next, and seize a passing shrimp the day after that. This flexibility is not just convenient, it is essential. Specialization in the deep sea is a hazardous bet, unless you happen to live near a consistent food source like a hydrothermal vent, which for now, we will leave entirely untouched to avoid repeating future material. Even at the ecosystem level, the deep sea demonstrates an impressive balancing act. Microbes break down organic matter so efficiently that almost nothing escapes decomposition. Carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and other elements are cycled with slow precision. The deep ocean is a quiet but relentless recycler, taking the cast-offs of the surface world and turning them into the fuel that keeps its own ecosystems functioning. Every particle of marine snow, every drifting carcass, every tiny scrap of organic matter contributes to this hidden web of life. And while the food supply may be scarce, the deep sea has perfected the art of making every morsel last. There is something poetic about it. An entire world thriving on leftovers, proving that survival is not always about abundance. Sometimes it's about adaptation, patience, and the ability to treat a falling speck of debris like a precious treasure. Down here, in the darkness where sunlight never reaches, life persists because it has mastered the quiet, elegant economics of scarcity. Hydrothermal vents sit in some of the most unlikely corners of the planet, fractures in the deep ocean floor where seawater plunges into the Earth's crust, heats up to astonishing temperatures, and shoots back out through towering mineral chimneys like the ocean trying to exhale steam from a very dramatic spa day. These vents are not gentle hot springs. They blast fluids that can exceed 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, and definitely hot enough to make any unprepared creature reconsider its life choices. Yet somehow, impossibly, these vents host some of the richest oases of life on the planet. Imagine the most intense volcanic furnace you can think of, then surround it with thriving organisms that behave as though they're relaxing at a luxury resort. That's a hydrothermal vent. The water erupting from these chimneys is not just hot, it's packed with chemicals, minerals and metals pulled from the rocks below. Hydrogen sulfide, methane, iron, manganese, even traces of gold and silver swirl in the vent fluids. None of this sounds like a recipe for life. Hydrogen sulfide alone is toxic enough that humans treat it like an emergency evacuation announcement. But deep-sea microbes treat it like gourmet breakfast. These microorganisms use the chemicals in vent fluids as fuel, performing a miraculous process called chemosynthesis. If photosynthesis is nature's solar power plant, chemosynthesis is nature's industrial refinery, converting chemical energy into organic matter without a single ray of sunlight. At the base of every vent ecosystem, these microbes are the real MVPs. They coat the rocks with colourful mats that shimmer like underwater velvet. They live inside the bodies of giant tube worms, providing their hosts with all the nutrients they need. They form the first link in an energy chain entirely independent from the sun, a biological loophole that proves life can write its own rules when it wants to. Giant tube worms, those iconic ambassadors of the vent world, grow taller than most human children and look like enormous red-tipped candles stuck in the seafloor. They possess no mouth, no stomach, and no digestive system at all. Instead, they host symbiotic bacteria inside a specialized internal organ. The worms supply the bacteria with the raw ingredients from vent fluids, sulfides, carbon dioxide, oxygen, and the bacteria, in return, manufacture food for both parties. It's a nutrient-sharing agreement so efficient that tube worms can grow incredibly fast, which would be impressive if they didn't also look like props from a sci-fi film that forgot to dial back the alien aesthetic. Nearby, vent crabs scuttle across the mineral-rich terrain, grazing on bacterial mats like tiny white lawnmowers. Vent shrimp cluster in enormous swarms, their bodies often transparent or tinted pale white, as though they forgot to finish rendering. Many of these shrimp have heat-sensing organs on their backs or faces, allowing them to navigate the razor-thin boundary between survivable warmth and instant seafood boil. They hover mere centimeters from water that could flash cook them, relying on reflexes honed by millions of years of evolution. If they ever start a shrimp Olympics, Avoid the Death Water would definitely be the flagship event. Then there are the vent mussels and clams, which grow astonishingly large thanks to their bacterial passengers. Their shells may look ordinary, but their insides host thriving microbial communities that convert vent chemicals into energy. Essentially, these bivalves are running internal chemical factories, producing organic matter faster than they could ever filter from the water. It's a clever adaptation. Why waste time filtering for food when you can cultivate an in-house meal service? Of course, not all vent creatures rely on symbiosis. Some are hunters. The vent fields support carnivorous worms, predatory snails, and surprisingly assertive starfish that drift in like slow-motion villains. These animals take advantage of the abundance of life drawn to the chemical buffet. The deep ocean is all about efficiency, and vents are no exception. Wherever energy appears, be it from falling marine snow or erupting volcanic fluids, life swoops in like it received a celestial dinner invitation. The chimneys themselves tell a story in their towering shapes. Formed from mineral deposits that precipitate out of the superheated vent water, these structures can grow dozens of meters tall. Some resemble Gothic cathedrals, others resemble dripping candles. Some look like geological sculptures built by a blacksmith with artistic ambitions. Hot fluid inside the chimney is separated from cold seawater outside by only a few centimeters of fragile mineral walls, making them some of the most delicate yet dynamic structures on Earth. They can collapse, regrow, split, and fuse in ways that resemble living architecture. And despite the harshness of the environment, vent ecosystems are often surprisingly colourful. Black smokers, the most dramatic vents, spit out dark, mineral-rich plumes that look like underwater smoke. White smokers release lighter, milky fluids, full of different minerals. Around them grow fields of red plumes, white shells, golden microbial mats, and shimmering heat distortions that warp the water like the ocean is trying to create its own illusion show. What makes hydrothermal vents truly astonishing is the philosophical twist they introduce. For most of Earth's history, we believed sunlight defined the boundary of life. Everything depended on it. Then we discovered vents, worlds powered by geology instead of starfire. These ecosystems do not just survive without sunlight, they flourish without it. They rewrite the script for what life needs and where life can exist. Their existence even fuels speculation about life on other worlds, such as the subsurface oceans of Jupiter's moon Europa or Saturn's moon Enceladus. If life can thrive next to superheated volcanic chimneys miles below the surface, then maybe it can thrive anywhere water and energy meet. Hydrothermal vents are proof that life doesn't ask for permission. It adapts, innovates, and finds opportunity in the most extreme environments imaginable. In the deep sea, where most of the world is cold, quiet, and nearly barren. Vents blaze like underwater hearths, supporting dense communities built not on sunlight, but on the Earth's internal fire. They are nature's reminder that even in the darkest, hottest corners of the planet, life always finds a spark. Cold seeps begin quietly, almost shyly, as if the ocean floor has discovered a secret leak and isn't quite sure whether to tell anyone. Unlike hydrothermal vents, which burst from the seafloor like volcanic overachievers desperate for attention, cold seeps ooze. They release methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other chemicals in a slow, steady seepage that feels almost polite. The term cold is misleading, though. The water isn't icy, it's simply not superheated. Instead, it's a few degrees warmer or cooler than the surrounding seawater, just subtle enough that you wouldn't notice unless your sensory organs evolved to detect temperature changes with the precision of a paranoid thermometer. These methane-rich zones create ecosystems that feel like they belong in an alternate version of the planet. Life here doesn't run on sunlight or even volcanic energy. It runs on chemistry that would send most surface organisms into a dramatic faint. Methane and sulfide, compounds humans treat like emergency hazard signs, are the grocery staples of cold seep communities. The seafloor in these regions often looks cracked, pale, and crusted with strange mineral formations, as if someone had spilled milk across the ocean floor and let it dry. Patches of white, yellow, and black sediments mark areas where microbes are busy transforming toxic chemicals into something resembling edible energy. At the heart of these ecosystems are the chemosynthetic bacteria and archaea that live in the sediments and fluids. They are the biochemical wizards of the deep, capable of turning methane into organic material. These microbes are so efficient at their jobs that they form dense mats, carpets of living cells that look like someone left a shag rug on the ocean floor. When currents ripple across them, they sway gently, as though waving hello in the eeriest greeting imaginable. These mats form the foundation of the cold seep food web, feeding everything from snails to shrimp to tube worms that look suspiciously like the distant cousins of those at hydrothermal vents. But tube worms at cold seeps play by different rules. Instead of relying on superheated vent water, they draw nutrients from seep fluids rich in methane and sulfide. Some species grow several meters tall, forming towering colonies that resemble underwater reed forests. Others cluster into dense patches, creating a maze of white tubes that wave slowly with the current. Like their vent relatives, they have no mouth or digestive system. Instead, they house internal bacteria that act as live-in chefs, transforming toxic chemicals into proteins, sugars, and all the organic goodness a worm needs to grow impressively large. If this arrangement existed on land, humans would absolutely try to commercialize it, probably in the form of a new, self-feeding diet tube. Then there are the mussels, cold seep royalty. These bivalves form enormous beds that can stretch for football fields across the sea floor. Their shells look ordinary on the outside, but inside, they carry bacterial partners that process methane for them. This symbiosis allows the mussels to thrive in places no other shellfish would dare settle. They anchor themselves in sediments soaked with chemical fluids, surrounding themselves with methane-rich bubbles, emerging like underwater champagne for creatures with very unconventional taste. A gathering of cold seep mussels is like a block party where everyone brought their own bacteria. The landscape around cold seeps is surprisingly dynamic. Methane can seep through cracks, bubble out in fizzy streams, or solidify into methane hydrate, a peculiar ice-like substance that forms under high pressure and low temperature. Methane hydrate deposits often make the seafloor appear frosted or crystalline, as though winter snuck in somewhere it clearly didn't belong. Disturb these deposits, and the methane can release in chaotic bursts, turning calm, quiet seep sites into temporary bubble storms. If the ocean had mood swings, this would be one of them. Cold seep ecosystems also attract predators and scavengers that roam the deep in search of any reliable food source. Crabs patrol the mussel beds with the confident strut of creatures that know they've found a buffet. Fish linger nearby, hoping to snag a distracted worm or an unsuspecting snail. Even some sharks and larger predators pass through, treating seeps as rest stops on their long journeys across the abyss. These animals don't necessarily tap into the chemosynthetic energy directly. Instead, they feed on the creatures that do. It's a classic case of, I don't understand what you're eating, but I'm glad you're eating it so I can eat you. What sets cold seeps apart from other deep-sea ecosystems is not just their reliance on methane, but their astonishing longevity. While hydrothermal vents may flare up and then go extinct within decades, cold seeps can remain stable for centuries, or even millennia. Their slow, steady release of chemicals creates predictable habitats in a world where most environments are anything but predictable. As a result, seep communities often develop intricate relationships among species, forming ecosystems that feel ancient, deliberate, and patient. Some of the most intriguing inhabitants are the clams, whose shells form dense pavements on the seafloor. When alive, they host bacteria, just like the mussels do, but when they die, their shells accumulate in thick layers that reshape the terrain. These shell beds create new surfaces where other creatures can attach, hide, or hunt. In a sense, the clams continue influencing their ecosystem long after they're gone, an ecological legacy made of calcium carbonate and good intentions. Cold seeps also highlight an essential truth about life. It finds a way to thrive in places where logic says it shouldn't. Methane, sulfide, unstable sediments, shifting gases. None of these ingredients sound promising, yet the deep sea turns them into bustling neighborhoods full of energy, growth, and strange beauty. Down here, life doesn't follow the rules set by the sunny surface world. It writes its own instructions, adapting not through abundance, but through ingenuity. In the end, cold seeps remind us just how flexible and imaginative evolution can be. Give life a chemical leak, a dark ocean floor, and a few million years, and it will build a thriving, bizarre, and oddly elegant ecosystem out of it. It may not be a world of sunlight and forests, but it is a world built on chemistry, cooperation, and the quiet persistence of organisms that flourish in the planet's most unusual kitchens. The Hadal zone begins where the ocean floor suddenly decides flatness is overrated and plunges into monumental scars cut deep into the crust. These trenches, long, narrow, impossibly steep, form some of the most extreme environments on the planet. Their name comes from Hades, the underworld of Greek mythology, and honestly, it's one of the rare cases where scientists naming things went for drama and actually got it right. These are Earth's deepest graveyards of topography, places where sunlight is not only absent but irrelevant, where pressure would crush titanium like overripe fruit, and where life persists in ways that border on the unbelievable. Geographically speaking, trenches form through a process called subduction, when one tectonic plate collides with another and gets pushed downward into the mantle. The descending plate drags the seafloor with it, carving a furrow so deep it would make the Grand Canyon look like a shallow puddle. Over millions of years, this geologic ballet produces some of the most dramatic structures on Earth: the Mariana Trench, the Tonga Trench, the Kermadec Trench, and many more. If continents are the Earth's face, these trenches are the wrinkles, except far deeper, far darker, and significantly less moisturized. The Mariana Trench holds the record, plunging nearly 11 kilometers down, a depth so extreme that if Mount Everest were dropped inside, its peak would still sit 2 kilometers underwater. Picture that. The world's tallest mountain buried in silence and blackness, its summit no longer a symbol of human triumph, but a barely noticeable bump in the abyss. The scale is almost incomprehensible, like the planet quietly hiding its most dramatic features where no one can casually stumble across them. The Hadal Zone is not just deep, it is profoundly, absurdly, unapologetically deep. Because these trenches stretch for hundreds of kilometers in long arcs, they act like underwater continents in reverse. Instead of rising toward the sky, they sink into the Earth's crust, forming isolated pockets of environment cut off from the rest of the ocean. This isolation creates habitats where evolution sometimes takes a detour and ends up producing organisms as unusual as they are discrete. Many creatures found in the Hadal Zone exist nowhere else, living quiet lives in places humans rarely manage to visit, without lugging along a specially built submersible and a strong sense of existential bravery. Descending into a trench is unlike descending anywhere else in the ocean. First, the world narrows. Steep walls rise like the sides of a vast slot canyon, with rock faces that drop vertically into darkening water. Occasionally, sediments cascade down the slopes in slow underwater avalanches, sending clouds of fine particles drifting like ghostly smoke. As you move deeper, the temperature drops to near freezing. The pressure intensifies to levels that make industrial equipment tremble, and the landscape grows quieter, emptier, and stranger. The seafloor of a Hadal Trench is not a smooth plain. It is a world shaped by seismic violence. Ridges, scarps, and chaotic piles of debris created by landslides and tectonic shifts. Earthquakes regularly shake these trenches, rearranging sediment and stirring the environment like a cosmic spoon in a planetary soup. In some places, arc volcanoes loom nearby, hinting at magma just beneath the crust, while in others, chemical reactions in the sediment generate mysterious plumes of nutrients that drift upward like whispers of geological secrets. Despite the crushing pressure, life flourishes, quietly, efficiently, and in forms that range from the elegantly strange to the "are we sure that's not a gelatinous sock?" strange. Amphipods thrive here, some large and pale, others tiny and transparent. Their bodies are enriched with pressure-tolerant molecules that keep their cells stable in conditions that would reduce most animals to a disappointing smear. They scavenge the seafloor with peaceful fervour, as though the Hadal Zone is hosting the world's slowest but most dedicated cleanup crew. Then there are the Hadal snailfish, ghostly, delicate creatures with bodies so soft they would collapse at shallower depths. Paradoxically, they can only survive in the pressure cooker environment of the trenches. Their bones are reduced, their muscles adapted for extreme compression, and their tissues filled with specialized compounds that keep their internal chemistry from unraveling. These fish glide over the trench floor with quiet confidence, embodying the deep sea's talent for thriving where logic suggests nothing should. Microbes play an equally vital role. Tucked within the sediments and rock fissures, these microscopic pioneers use chemical reactions in the seafloor to power their metabolism, slowly breaking down organic debris that sinks into the trench. Some even metabolize minerals, turning geological crumbs into biological currency. In a world almost devoid of sunlight and fresh organic input, these microbes form the invisible backbone of the entire ecosystem, sustaining creatures higher up the food chain. One of the great mysteries of the Hadal Zone is how organic matter reaches such extreme depths. While some of it drifts down from the surface in the slow, steady rain of particles belonging to the upper ocean, much of it arrives dramatically through underwater landslides, earthquakes, or large-scale slumps that send massive pulses of sediment cascading down trench walls. These events deliver sudden surges of nutrients, triggering bursts of biological activity. It's a bit like living in a place where grocery deliveries only come after tectonic tantrums, but when they do arrive, they're plentiful. Exploring trenches is incredibly difficult, which is why they remain more mysterious than some black holes. We've sent more people into space than into the deepest parts of our own ocean. Equipment must withstand pressures that would compress submarines into unfortunate origami. Darkness is absolute, navigation is treacherous, and communication with the surface is a slow, lagging process. Every successful descent reveals something new, an unexpected species, a strange mineral deposit, or a landscape feature no one predicted. The Hadal Zone refuses to give up its secrets easily, and perhaps that is exactly why it captivates us. These trenches remind us that Earth contains worlds within worlds, each shaped by different rules and forces. The Hadal Zone is a deep archive of geological history, a refuge for ancient lineages, and a frontier of scientific curiosity. Hidden from sunlight, unreachable without immense effort, they hold stories written in pressure, silence, and darkness. And while they may be inhospitable to us, they are home to a remarkable array of creatures for whom the deep abyss is not a nightmare, but the only world they've ever known. When light disappears, evolution rolls up its sleeves, mutters, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and begins inventing sensory systems that would make any science fiction writer double-check their notes. In the deep sea, where darkness is more than an absence of daylight, it's a permanent, ancient state of existence. Creatures navigate, hunt, communicate, and survive through senses sculpted by millions of years of improvisation. The result is a menagerie of organisms that experience the world in ways that would leave surface animals feeling like they're operating with outdated hardware. Start with the eyes, because the deep sea has some truly extravagant examples. In the upper regions of the deep, some animals develop eyes so large they look like evolutionary overcompensations. Great shimmering orbs designed to capture every last photon that dares to drift their way. These eyes are so sensitive that if a single speck of light escaped from a distant surface creature sneezing, some deep-sea resident would probably see it. The barrel-eye fish is perhaps the most astonishing example, with tubular eyes encased in a transparent, fluid-filled dome. Its eyes rotate upward to scan for the silhouettes of prey drifting above, but can also roll forward when necessary. Imagine having eyes that can freely pivot like mounted telescopes inside your own skull. Eyes that never get dust in them because the windshield is built right in. If evolution were handing out awards for innovation, the barrel eye would leave with a plaque and a speech about believing in your weirdest ideas. Other species go in the opposite direction. They reduce their eyes to tiny vestigial dots or lose them entirely. In the profound darkness of deep trenches and abyssal plains, eyes become unnecessary maintenance costs. Why build complex optical machinery when there's nothing to see? These creatures navigate through touch, vibration, or chemical signals, leaving their eye sockets as evolutionary footnotes. Some fish have skins stretched smoothly where eyes would normally be, giving them the appearance of animals still waiting for nature to install the final accessories. Yet they thrive, proving that vision is optional when you have other tools in your sensory toolkit. One of the most widespread adaptations in the deep sea is an unusually refined sense of vibration detection. Many fish possess extended lateral lines, rows of pressure-sensitive cells along their sides that respond to water movements with remarkable specificity. In the deep ocean, where light is useless and encounters between animals are often rare, recognizing the faint displacement created by a passing organism can mean the difference between finding food and drifting hungry for days. These creatures pick up ripples like seafloor seismographs, interpreting each disturbance as a clue. A tiny quiver in the water becomes a story. What direction something moved, how large it was, and how fast it traveled. For animals at these depths, vibrations are gossip, navigation guide, and alarm system all rolled into one. Chemosensation, the ability to detect chemical cues, is another sensory superpower perfected in the abyss. While surface animals may rely on scent to track prey or mates, deep-sea species elevate this sense to astonishing heights. Some creatures can detect trace chemicals diffusing slowly across the water in parts per trillion concentrations. That's like noticing a single drop of perfume diluted in an entire lake. For predators that drift patiently through the darkness, chemical trails are the breadcrumbs of survival. They follow these invisible threads across vast distances, sometimes for hours, until they close in on a weakened animal or a decomposing meal. To them, the ocean is not empty. It's saturated with signals, a silent conversation written in the chemistry of life. Touch also takes on new dimensions in these depths. Many deep-sea organisms grow extended antennae, whiskers, or filaments that behave like sensory antenna towers. These structures can stretch far beyond the animal's body, brushing through the water and detecting subtle changes in texture, temperature, or motion. Certain shrimp have antennae so long that they seem to explore the surrounding environment before the rest of the animal arrives. It's as if they send out scouts, a tactile vanguard, probing the dark for anything edible, dangerous, or simply interesting. Some jelly-like creatures rely on the sensitivity of their entire bodies. Their gelatinous surfaces register even the slightest pressure wave, allowing them to respond to nearby movement faster than their nervous systems could process visual information, even if there were any light to see. These animals glide smoothly through the depths, adjusting position with tiny flicks, each motion refined by a feedback loop of sensory input that runs through their soft tissues like whispers. There are also deep-sea residents that detect electric or magnetic cues. While not as widespread as other adaptations, these sensitivities offer elegant solutions to living in a world without light. Some fish can sense the faint bioelectric currents produced by the muscles of nearby organisms. Even a heartbeat can betray the presence of prey. To these predators, other creatures glow with invisible electricity, making hiding almost impossible. If humans had this ability, Nighttime hide and seek would be a very short game. Magnetoreception, the ability to sense Earth's magnetic field, is believed to help some deep-sea animals orient themselves in the featureless dark. With no sunlight, landmarks, or stable reference points, the magnetic field becomes a celestial map. While surface animals may use it casually for migration, deep-sea creatures may rely on it for every journey, every drift, every ascent or descent. It is their compass in a world that erases all other directions. Perhaps the strangest sensory adaptation, though, is patience. The deep sea requires a kind of biological stillness, an ability to wait motionless for long stretches, conserving energy until the right cue. Chemical, vibrational, electrical, triggers action. Many animals are so tuned to specific signals that they ignore everything else, reducing sensory noise in an environment already starved for input. In the darkness, focus becomes a sense in itself. The result of all these adaptations is a world where creatures cannot rely on sight, but instead build a complete understanding of their surroundings through senses that feel almost supernatural to us. It is evolution's reminder that visibility is just one way to know a world, and certainly not the only one. In the deep sea, life doesn't look. It listens. It tastes. It feels. It senses currents, chemicals, magnetic fields, and the faintest tremble in the water. And through this invisible tapestry of information, it thrives where light never will. Romance in the deep sea is not the soft focus, pastel-coloured montage that nature documentaries on land might have prepared you for. Down here, courtship is a logistical challenge, a strategic gamble, and occasionally a biological magic trick performed in absolute darkness. When you live in a world with no sunlight, no clear landmarks, and neighbours spaced so far apart you might go months without seeing another member of your own species, the usual rules of attraction need a serious overhaul, and evolution, ever the enthusiastic problem solver, has created reproductive strategies so strange and brilliant that abyssal romance might be one of the most captivating concepts in all of biology. Take bioluminescent courtship, the deep sea's glowing love letters, in the twilight zones and upper reaches of the dark abyss, where just enough creatures still possess eyes that can detect light. Some species rely on carefully timed flashes or glimmers to attract mates. But these aren't random glows. They're choreographed signals, the underwater equivalent of someone texting, "Hey, are you single?" except written in pulses of blue-green light. Male lanternfish, for example, possess rows of light organs that flicker in patterns unique to their species and sex. When a female sees the correct sequence, she knows she's found a compatible partner rather than a hungry predator pretending to be one. In the deep sea, romantic safety features must be built into the lighting design. Other animals use luminous lures, not just to attract prey, as many predators do, but to advertise their presence to potential mates. Some species create halos or glowing clouds, flickering spirals, even slow light dances that would be poetic if they weren't happening near creatures with teeth shaped like nightmare cutlery. In these depths, light isn't just decoration. It's a way of saying, "I'm here, I'm available, and I promise I'm not going to eat you, probably." But bioluminescence is only one strategy. For many deep-sea creatures, finding a partner is such a challenge that they rely on extraordinary sensory precision to locate members of their own species. Some use chemical cues released over long distances. producing trails of odor molecules that drift slowly through still water. Males might follow these cues for hours, days, or however long it takes to locate a female. A devotion that, if translated to humans, would involve tracking someone through a maze blindfolded with nothing but the scent of their shampoo as guidance. Then there are the species whose reproductive strategies have completely abandoned courtship in favor of practicality. Enter the famous anglerfish, whose mating technique is the biological equivalent of permanent attachment, for better or worse. In many anglerfish species, the female is enormous, equipped with the iconic glowing lure dangling from her forehead like a cosmic fishing rod. The male, however, is tiny, so tiny in fact that calling him miniature feels generous. His life's mission is singular: find a female and never let go, literally. Once he locates her in the darkness, he bites her skin and releases enzymes that fuse their tissues together. Eventually, their circulatory systems merge. The male's body begins to shrink until he is essentially a permanent, living, reproductive organ attached to the female's side. It's a dramatic solution to long-distance relationships. Evolution's version of saying, let's just combine accounts and never separate again. Other species take the simpler route of broadcasting their gametes into the water, relying on chance encounters at the microscopic level. This method, known as external fertilization, is common among many deep-sea echinoderms, jellies, and invertebrates. It's a gamble, but when mates are scarce, releasing eggs or sperm into the currents is a way of increasing the odds that genetic material eventually meets its counterpart. Picture a glitter cannon at a party. But instead of confetti, it's millions of reproductive cells drifting into the void. Efficiency aside, it certainly lacks the dramatic flair of glowing dances or lifelong fusions. But in the deep ocean, practicality wins more often than style. Some deep-sea creatures employ brood care, a rarity in such harsh environments. Certain species of fish carry fertilized eggs in their mouths, or on specialized patches of skin. Some crustaceans hold their eggs in feathery appendages, protecting them as they drift through nutrient-poor zones. Brood care in the deep may look gentle and parental, but make no mistake, it is a high-stakes investment. Any parent in these depths must shield their offspring from a world where almost everything is hungry and very patient. Still others use reproductive timing to maximize success. Some species synchronize spawning with environmental cues, changes in currents, slight variations in temperature, or even chemical pulses that signal the presence of potential mates. In a world where meeting up is logistically improbable, synchronizing reproduction ensures that many individuals are releasing gametes at the same time, dramatically increasing the odds of fertilization. It's like planning a giant invisible flash mob, except no one can see each other. And everyone's main goal is the continuation of their species. A particularly remarkable strategy belongs to creatures that mate once and then die, a one-time reproductive finale known as semal parity. Some deep-sea octopuses exhibit this approach. A female might guard her eggs for years, never eating, slowly wasting away as she fans them with gentle currents until they hatch. It's a final act of devotion, a biological mic drop. Once her young emerge, she dies, having invested everything in their survival. Romance here is not glittering or loud. It is quiet, absolute, and bound by patience that seems almost supernatural. What makes deep-sea reproduction so compelling is not the strangeness of any one strategy, but the sheer creativity of all of them combined. In a world where darkness reigns and resources are scarce, life has found countless ways to solve the same problem: finding a partner when partners are rare, ensuring offspring survive in an unforgiving environment, and passing genes forward into a future hidden beneath kilometers of water. Down here, romance isn't soft music or candlelight. It's chemistry. It's light that pulses through blackness. It's sensory mastery, patience, and adaptation. It's devotion that spans years or unions that last a lifetime, sometimes quite literally. In the deep sea, love finds a way. It just might look very different from anything the surface world has ever imagined. Microbial life in the deep ocean exists in a realm so extreme, so creatively hostile, that the microbes themselves feel like characters from a biology-themed fantasy novel. These are organisms that look at boiling vent fluids, toxic chemicals, bone-crushing pressure, and absolute darkness, and simply shrug, as if the universe handed them a challenge and they politely replied, "Thanks, I'll thrive on this." If deep-sea megafauna are the celebrities of the abyss, microbes are the quiet engineers who run everything behind the scenes. They are small, invisible, and relentlessly competent, transforming some of the harshest environments on Earth into thriving chemical factories. Let's begin near hydrothermal vents, where temperatures can soar higher than any animal could possibly withstand. In these seething, mineral-rich clouds live extremophiles, microbes specially adapted to high heat, pressure, and chemical chaos. Some of these microorganisms can survive at temperatures so high they would annihilate typical proteins. They manage this through specialized enzymes that remain stable even as the surrounding water hovers near boiling. To humans, vent fluids would feel like instant soup mix. To these microbes, it's just another Tuesday, but their culinary preferences are even stranger. Many vent microbes are chemolithotrophs, meaning they dine on inorganic molecules rather than organic ones. Where humans need carbon-based foods, these tiny specialists feast on sulfides, iron, hydrogen, or even metals. Imagine a creature that looks at a chunk of rock and sees not geology, but lunch. They oxidize these minerals, using the chemical reactions to power their internal processes, effectively turning vent chimneys into gourmet buffets for the chemically adventurous. Some vent microbes live free in the water, forming delicate filaments that wave in the shimmering heat like strands of glowing hair. Others prefer to move in as tenants inside larger animals, forming symbiotic partnerships that fuel the monstrous growth of tube worms, mussels, and other vent species. These microbial freeloaders aren't actually freeloading. They provide essential nutrients by converting toxic chemicals into usable organic molecules. If the vent animals are the landlords, the microbes are the live-in chefs who never complain about working overtime. But vent communities are only part of the microbial empire. Elsewhere in the deep ocean, methane-rich sediments offer their own brand of microbial habitat, hosting organisms that treat methane as a cozy snack. These microbes use methane the way surface plants use sunlight, as a primary energy source. Some live alone, others partner with archaea in metabolic tag teams, sharing chemical responsibilities, like two co-workers who figured out the perfect division of chores. Together they perform anaerobic methane oxidation, a process so efficient it helps regulate the planet's methane levels. Without these deep-dwelling methane munchers, our atmosphere would be a far more chaotic and overheated place. They may not know it, but they quietly contribute to global climate stability, one molecule at a time. Many methane-processing microbes also create unusual structures in the sediment. When they metabolize methane, minerals precipitate and form bizarre carbonate formations, crusts, chimneys, and knobby lumps that litter the seafloor. These mineral deposits can grow into towering mounds, or spread in flat, crusty patches that resemble geological eczema. They serve as both habitat and byproduct, a kind of microbial urban development. If microbes had zoning laws, this would be prime real estate. Venture. Deeper still, into the abyssal plains and trenches, and the microbes become even more impressive. Some inhabit sediments under pressure so intense it would flatten most organisms into scientific disappointment. Yet these microbes maintain their cellular machinery with meticulous precision. Their membranes contain pressure-stabilizing molecules that keep their structures from collapsing. Their enzymes flex and adjust to maintain chemical reactions that would falter anywhere else. It's like watching someone calmly balance a house of cards while standing in a hurricane. One of the strangest discoveries about deep-sea microbes is how slowly many of them live. Some metabolize so sluggishly that their entire lifespan might stretch across centuries or millennia. In nutrient-poor sediments, miles below the surface, a microbe may divide only once every few hundred years. That's not a laid-back lifestyle. That's time operating in a completely different gear. Imagine organisms so patient that their idea of rapid growth might involve a schedule best measured in geological time. These microbial slow burners survive on minimal energy, relying on the faint trickle of organic matter sinking from above, or on chemical gradients buried deep within the sediments. They linger in the mud like ancient, single-celled librarians, quietly cataloguing the chemical inheritance of the ocean. Even when isolated from fresh nutrients, they remain metabolically alive, running on the biological equivalent of a dim, unwavering candle flame. Microbes also inhabit basaltic crust, deep beneath the seafloor, in pores and fractures where seawater slowly circulates. This subsurface biosphere is like a second hidden ocean, tiny, dark, and immensely vast. Microorganisms here feed on oxidized metals or hydrogen produced by rock-water reactions. These communities may represent one of the largest reservoirs of life on Earth, though they remain nearly impossible to study without drilling through thousands of meters of sediment. Yet they persist, as quiet as shadows, and as vital as anything living on the surface. Then there are the microbes that specialize in unusual metabolic feats, such as reducing sulfates, producing methane, or oxidizing ammonia. Some generate faint electrical currents that move through biofilms, essentially microbial communication systems powered by chemistry. Others form thick mats that blanket seafloor rocks, creating slippery, shimmering carpets that, while aesthetically questionable, are ecologically invaluable. What all these microbes share is a stunning versatility. They can tolerate extreme heat, cold, pressure, and chemical conditions. They exploit every energy source the deep sea offers. They form the very foundation of deep ocean food webs, supporting animals that appear far more charismatic, but would collapse without their microscopic allies. The deep ocean's gigantic tube worms, mussel beds, shrimp swarms, and countless other creatures owe their existence to armies of unseen cells, tirelessly converting chemistry into life. In the end, microbial life in the deep sea reminds us of a profound truth. Complexity and beauty do not require size. The deep ocean's smallest inhabitants are also its most influential. They are chemists, engineers, architects, and climate regulators. They turn rocks into food, toxins into energy, and desolate darkness into a functioning ecosystem. In the deep sea, life's greatest achievements often happen on the tiniest scale, quietly, invisibly, and with astonishing resilience. In the deep sea, predators do not rely on speed, elegance, or dramatic chase sequences. They rely on creativity, often unsettling creativity. Down here, where encounters with prey are rare and mealtime opportunities unpredictable, evolution has turned predation into an art form that blends patience, bizarre anatomy, and strategies that would make a horror movie director whisper, "Okay, that's enough." Every predator in this realm exists in a state of perpetual improvisation, adapting to a world where darkness rules, food is scarce, and the nearest snack might drift past only once every few weeks. Take the gulper eel, a creature that looks like someone inflated the wrong part of a fish. Its mouth is so disproportionately large that it seems like the eel was designed by an artist who started with the jaw, felt proud of it, and then realized they had to attach the rest of the body as an afterthought. Its jaws can unhinge and balloon outward, creating a mouth cavity large enough to engulf prey nearly its own size. The body tapers into a long whip-like tail, tipped with a bioluminescent organ that glows faintly. Scientists think the tail light may act as a lure, but it could just as easily be nature's version of an accidental flashlight. No one's entirely sure. What is clear is that the gulper eel doesn't chase prey. It waits, floats, and then becomes a living, expanding net when something edible wanders too close. It is the underwater embodiment of come to me food. If the gulper eel specializes in engulfing, the anglerfish specializes in deception. The female anglerfish's glowing lure dangles above her enormous jaws, like an organic neon sign advertising a free buffet. Small fish, squid, or crustaceans see the glow, think, "Oh, convenient," and swim closer, at which point the lure abruptly reveals its real purpose. It was never about offering food. It was about being food. The anglerfish's jaws snap shut with alarming speed, and its teeth, curved inward like biological fishhooks, make escape about as likely as politely returning a purchased item without a receipt. In the deep sea, bioluminescence often signals opportunity. For the anglerfish, it signals the last really bad decision a prey animal ever makes. Not all predators use tricks. Some prefer brute efficiency. The fang-toothed fish, for example, sports teeth so large they literally cannot close their mouth around them. The fangs are so absurdly oversized that the fish has evolved special pockets in its upper jaw just to store its lower teeth. This gives it a permanent expression of mild shock, as though it can't quite believe its own dental situation. But those teeth are extremely effective in the dark. The fang-tooth hunts by sensing movement and lunging blindly, relying on its weapons to secure whatever it hits. In a place where visibility is non-existent, accuracy becomes optional. Just strike, bite, and accept whatever ends up between the fangs. Then there's the stoplight loose jaw, a deep-sea marvel equipped with the only known red bioluminescent beams in the ocean. Because most deep-sea animals cannot see red light, the loose jaw's beam functions like a sniper scope, illuminating prey without giving away its presence. It glides through the darkness, shining an invisible flashlight, identifying prey that remains blissfully unaware of the danger. Its lower jaw is hinged like a high-speed trap, snapping outward with a mechanical precision that feels engineered more than evolved. If the ocean had secret agents, the loose jaw would be their prototype. Some predators use their entire bodies as traps. The pelican eel's jaw, cousin to the gulper eel's enormous mouth, snaps open with the elasticity of a rubber band, creating a massive scoop that takes advantage of suction. The result is an animal that seems always prepared for the world's strangest vacuuming competition. Others, like deep-sea siphonophores, form floating colonies of specialized individuals arranged into tentacled curtains. Anything brushing against these curtains is stung, paralyzed, and slowly delivered to digestive units elsewhere in the colony. It's less like a predator and more like a drifting biological corporation where each employee has a very specific role, and the company motto is "catch everything." The viperfish, meanwhile, prefers ambush predation with flair. It sports photophores along its flank, small light organs that glow like runway lights. When prey approaches, the The viperfish bends its spine at a sharp angle, launching itself like a coiled spring with its dagger-like teeth bared. Those teeth are so long they don't fit inside its mouth unless the fish rotates them backward, a feature that would be wildly inconvenient for any species that wanted to chew. Fortunately, the viperfish swallows its prey whole, sparing itself the trouble of biting into the dark equivalent of popcorn kernels. Speed is rare in the deep sea, but some predators have it. The deep-sea dragonfish, sleek and serpentine, uses bioluminescent signals to coordinate short bursts of hunting behavior. It generates eerie glows from organs beneath its eyes, creating haunting green flashes that momentarily reveal prey before the dragonfish lunges. Its fangs are transparent, an adaptation that minimizes light reflection, making them effectively invisible. Imagine being hunted by something whose teeth don't even have the courtesy of showing up properly. But for every jagged jaw and glowing lure, many predators in the deep rely on patience above all else. Energy is scarce, meals unpredictable. A deep-sea predator might drift motionless for hours, conserving every bit of energy until the ocean delivers an opportunity. This patience is not laziness, it's strategy. Motion attracts attention. Stillness invites survival. Many predators balance on the razor's edge between invisibility and readiness, waiting for the faintest ripple in the water, the slightest chemical shift, or a glimmer of movement that signals the presence of food. The deep sea may appear quiet, but every predator here is tuned to the smallest cues. They do not chase, they anticipate. They do not waste, they adapt. Their bodies are shaped by scarcity, by darkness, by pressure, and by the strange physics of a world where light barely exists, and survival is an intricate game of waiting, sensing, and exploding into action at precisely the right moment. Deep-sea predators remind us that danger doesn't need daylight to flourish. In the abyss, evolution has crafted creatures whose strategies range from the cunning to the outrageous, each built to thrive where the margins are thin and the stakes are absolute. In this world of darkness, predation becomes a kind of art, quiet, efficient, and endlessly inventive. In the deep sea, size is less a rule and more a suggestion. Evolution seems to treat it like a creative writing exercise, sometimes producing creatures so large they look like myths accidentally wandered into reality, and other times shrinking animals down until they resemble pocket-sized versions of their surface relatives. This strange contrast is known as deep-sea gigantism and dwarfism, an evolutionary duet that raises an irresistible question. Why does the abyss produce both giants and miniatures with equal enthusiasm? Let's start with gigantism, the deep sea's tendency to supersize certain species. Consider the giant isopod, a creature that looks like a pillbug someone zoomed in on dramatically. It cruises the sea floor with the slow confidence of an animal that knows it could double as a footstool. Or the Japanese spider crab, whose leg span could give a small car a run for its money. Even the infamous giant squid, an animal whose existence once fueled sailor nightmares, owes its immense size in part to deep ocean pressures, food scarcity, and the unique physics of a cold, dark world. One major driver of gigantism is the relationship between temperature, metabolism, and body size. The deep sea is cold, frigid, really, and cold environments slow metabolic rates. Lower metabolism means that animals can grow larger without requiring the astronomical calorie intake a similar animal would need at the surface. A giant squid, for example, does not need to hunt constantly or devour endless meals to maintain its mass. Instead, it drifts through the cold with the slow-burning efficiency of a creature designed for long-term energy budgeting. Cold water is like nature's metabolic discount store. Big bodies become more affordable to maintain. Pressure also plays a role. In the depths, water pressure increases dramatically, influencing everything from buoyancy to circulation. Larger bodies can, in some cases, move more effectively through this dense environment. A big animal with more mass and stronger musculature can create the momentum it needs to glide or swim with minimal effort. A smaller creature might struggle in comparison, overwhelmed by a world that feels physically thicker than anything near the surface. Giants thrive partly because bigness becomes a functional advantage, like putting on heavier boots to trudge through deep snow. Food scarcity, oddly enough, may also encourage gigantism. When meals are rare, being large can actually help. Bigger animals tend to live longer, move farther, and store more energy, letting them survive long periods between feeding events. A giant isopod can wait months without eating, stubbornly refusing to starve. A smaller relative simply wouldn't have the stamina. Down here, patience is key, and size helps buy time. But if gigantism is a strategy for endurance, dwarfism is a strategy for efficiency, and it is every bit as fascinating. Many deep-sea creatures are shockingly small, often shrinking far below the size of their surface counterparts. Deep-sea amphipods can be microscopic miniatures. Certain deep-sea octopuses are endearingly tiny, with bodies small enough to perch comfortably on a teaspoon. Even sharks, which we tend to picture as large apex predators, have dwarf cousins in the abyss, some no bigger than a human hand. Why shrink? Because in a place where food is scarce and energy is precious, small size can be the ultimate savings plan. Tiny bodies require fewer resources, reducing the daily calorie needs to an amount even the deep sea can consistently provide. It's the biological equivalent of downsizing to a studio apartment, because the environment isn't exactly paying premium rates. Dwarfism also allows animals to occupy ecological niches inaccessible to larger species. Miniature crustaceans can hide within sediments, squeezing into crevices that larger predators cannot reach. Tiny fish can dart through narrow gaps in rocky formations, gaining access to microhabitats rich in microbial snacks. A small body opens doors, well, technically tiny cracks, that giants simply cannot enter. Reproductive strategies also encourage dwarfism. Some deep-sea species maintain tiny males and larger females, a pattern seen in several fish and crustaceans. Smaller males require fewer resources and are more mobile, increasing their chances of finding a scattered mate in the vast expanse of darkness. Meanwhile, females remain large enough to carry eggs and provide the energy needed for developing offspring. This size split becomes evolution's compromise. Males go small for adaptability, females go big for reproduction. Energetic constraints are not the only factor at play. The deep sea neutralizes some of the selective pressures that enforce size limits at the surface. On land and in coastal waters, animals often need to compete for territory, escape fast predators, or outrun threats. In the deep sea, however, many creatures settle into slower-paced lifestyles. Without the need for speed or agility, body size can shift dramatically. In some cases, small size helps conserve energy. In others, large size preserves it. The deep sea is a world where the most successful strategies lie at both extremes, bypassing the middle ground entirely. There is also the matter of longevity. Many deep-sea creatures live surprisingly long lives, some stretching decades, others potentially centuries. Slow growth and extended lifespans create the perfect conditions for both giants and miniatures. Giants can accumulate mass over long periods without expending excessive energy. Dwarfs can maintain tiny forms across long life cycles without demanding much from the environment. In both cases, time becomes an ally rather than a foe. And then there's the deliciously poetic truth. The deep sea is an evolutionary laboratory where constraints differ so radically from the surface world that size becomes a flexible variable, free to drift toward extremes. Whether it's a colossal squid drifting like a myth through inky waters, or a thumb-sized fish navigating the sediment like a micro-adventurer, these creatures embody the deep ocean's refusal to follow ordinary rules. Gigantism and dwarfism in the abyss are nature's reminders that life is astonishingly adaptable. Give evolution time, darkness, pressure, scarcity, and the occasional geological curveball, and it will respond with creatures that look impossible but function perfectly. In the deep sea, size never follows expectations. It rewrites them entirely. If the atmosphere is Earth's loud, restless teenager, constantly changing, constantly demanding attention, then the deep ocean is its quiet, dependable guardian, calmly doing most of the household chores without ever being thanked. The abyss doesn't ask for recognition. It doesn't trend on social media. It doesn't get cute documentaries with orchestral soundtracks. And yet, every moment of every day, it is stabilizing the planet, storing carbon, regulating heat, and quietly preventing our climate from sliding into something best described as apocalyptic chaos with extra humidity. To appreciate the deep ocean's role in climate regulation is to realize we've been relying on an unsung hero all along, one that works in total darkness and doesn't bother sending an invoice. For starters, think of the deep ocean as Earth's largest refrigerator, and not the kind stocked with questionable leftovers. Its waters are cold, dense, and remarkably stable. When warm surface water cools near the poles, it becomes heavy enough to sink, dragging heat, dissolved gases, and nutrients down with it. This slow descent is part of the global conveyor belt, a massive circulation system that moves water around the planet over centuries. It's not a fast process. If ocean currents had a speed setting, this would be lethargic stroll. But that slowness is exactly why it is so effective. The deep sea absorbs heat and stores it for long periods, preventing the surface from overheating. Without this heat buffering effect, our climate would swing wildly, and weather systems would behave with all the subtlety of a toddler learning to use power tools. The deep ocean also plays an extraordinary role in carbon storage. When organisms near the surface photosynthesize, they capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and convert it into organic matter. Some of that organic matter sinks when creatures die or release waste, transporting carbon downward in what scientists call the biological pump. It's basically the planet's natural carbon recycling system, except instead of sorting plastics from paper, the ocean quietly relocates carbon to a place where it won't bother anyone for a few centuries. Once organic material reaches the deep water or seafloor, it can remain there for astonishing lengths of time, hundreds, thousands, even millions of years, locked away in sediments or dissolved in the water. The deep ocean holds more carbon than the atmosphere, biosphere, and surface waters combined. It is the Earth's massive, unadvertised carbon vault. No fancy vault door, no laser alarms, just a simple and effective scheme involving gravity, microbes, and a lot of cold water. Carbon that enters the abyss tends to stay there, trapped far from the atmosphere where it can't contribute to warming. If the deep ocean were a person, it would be the friend who quietly takes away all your emotional baggage and stores it in a basement so you can go about your week feeling lighter. Methane regulation is another one of the deep ocean's specialties. While methane-releasing environments exist on the seafloor, especially at cold seeps, microbes step in to intercept much of it before it reaches the surface. These methane-consuming bacteria and archaea keep vast quantities of this potent greenhouse gas from bubbling upward into the atmosphere. It is a perfectly orchestrated system. Methane emerges, microbes feast, and the planet avoids yet another climate headache. This process is so effective that entire swaths of ocean floor remain stable, despite sitting atop giant reservoirs of methane that would otherwise escape in quantities best described as catastrophic. Temperature regulation is yet another quiet service provided by the abyss. Because the deep ocean is so vast, covering more than half the planet's surface area and extending kilometers down, its sheer volume gives it an unparalleled ability to absorb and redistribute heat. Surface waters warm and cool relatively quickly, sometimes within mere days or hours. Deep waters change on timelines closer to centuries. This stability radiates upward, dampening extreme temperature swings and helping maintain a climate in which seasons follow predictable rhythms instead of playing roulette. Even the way the deep ocean moves nutrients influences climate. When deep waters slowly rise back toward the surface in certain regions, they bring with them a treasure trove of nutrients accumulated over long spans of time. These nutrients fuel new blooms of phytoplankton, microscopic plants that again capture carbon dioxide and form the foundation of marine food webs. More phytoplankton means more biological carbon capture, more food production, and more stability in the global carbon cycle. It's a feedback loop so elegantly designed that if evolution had a logo, it would be printed right on top. The abyss also influences climate through its connection to sea ice formation. When ice grows in polar waters, it pushes out salt, increasing the density of surrounding seawater. This dense brine sinks, further driving deep ocean circulation. It's a subtle dance between ice, water, and salt that helps keep the conveyor belt moving. Without it, circulation would stall, heat would accumulate at the surface, and climate patterns would begin to wobble like a poorly balanced, spinning top. What's remarkable is how quietly all of this happens. The deep ocean doesn't announce its contributions. It doesn't complain when warming surface waters slow the circulation or when excess carbon enters the system, but it feels the strain. As temperatures rise, the global conveyor slows, reducing the ocean's ability to absorb heat and carbon. Altered chemistry affects deep-sea ecosystems in ways we're only beginning to understand. Some regions become more acidic, others shift in oxygen levels, and the creatures living there, adapted to stability, must cope with change creeping down from the surface. Yet even as humanity alters the planet, the deep ocean continues working tirelessly behind the scenes. It takes in heat. It stores carbon. It calms the atmosphere. It stabilizes currents. It nurtures microscopic life that forms the backbone of planetary cycles. It is, in every sense, the planet's quiet engine room. And perhaps the most humbling truth is this: without the deep ocean, Earth would be unrecognizable, a stormier, hotter, far less stable world. The abyss is not just a mysterious underworld. It is a climate guardian, operating silently, invisibly, and indispensably. It may not get the credit it deserves, but it unquestionably keeps the planet running. Deep-sea exploration technology exists because humans, for reasons we may never fully articulate, cannot resist the urge to poke the universe in its darkest corners. The abyss is one of those corners, vast, crushing, pitch black, and aggressively inhospitable. And yet we keep sending machines down there like curious metal scouts. These machines are not ordinary tools. They're feats of engineering designed to survive conditions that would turn most devices into avant-garde scrap art. They dive deeper than any human safely could, operate in silence, broken only by the crackle of distant geology, and return with images and data that remind us how little we know about our own planet. The pioneers of this metallic vanguard are remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, the tethered workhorses of deep-sea science. Picture a robot with the rugged personality of a construction worker and the delicate hands of a surgeon. ROVs are connected to a ship by an umbilical cable that carries power and signals, letting pilots on deck maneuver them with joysticks and keyboards. It's essentially underwater drone piloting, except the stakes involve million-dollar equipment and environments where visibility is sometimes worse than driving through midnight fog. These robots come with high-definition cameras, mechanical claws, and a suite of sensors that can read everything from temperature to chemical composition. They can pick up rocks, sample water, gather animals, and occasionally bump into things with the gentle cluelessness of a robot learning to walk. Some ROVs are tiny, designed to wriggle into crevices or tight formations. Others are the size of small cars, heavily armoured and built for heavy lift tasks. Many carry manipulator arms that look like underwater robot limbs auditioning for a sci-fi film. These arms are surprisingly expressive. They can pluck delicate organisms with careful precision or haul hefty geological samples like they're helping the ocean redecorate. Because ROVs rely on pilots topside, operations require coordination. The ship must stay steady, the crew must remain focused, and the robot must withstand everything the ocean throws at it, including currents, sediment clouds, and the occasional, curious fish that wants to audition for the camera. Then there are the autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, the introverted cousins who prefer to explore on their own. These robots do not need a tether or a pilot hovering over their shoulder. Once programmed, they slip into the depths and navigate with remarkable independence. If ROVs are careful remote puppets, AUVs are more like deep-sea Roombas with advanced degrees. They map the seafloor, measure chemical gradients, detect underwater mountains, and glide through the water with quiet determination. Some look like torpedoes, others like futuristic manta rays, and all of them behave like they're on secret missions. AUVs use sonar systems to see their surroundings, sending out sound waves that bounce off terrain and return with information. They can create detailed 3D maps of the seafloor, revealing ridges, trenches, vents, and underwater landslides with astonishing clarity. Many carry sensors for salinity, temperature, current speed, and oxygen levels. Some can measure tiny variations in Earth's magnetic field, while others detect fluorescence from plankton drifting through the water column. Because AUVs are not tied to ships, they can survey huge areas efficiently, tracing enormous loops before rising to the surface to transmit their findings like diligent students submitting homework. But AUVs and ROVs are only part of the arsenal. Human-occupied vehicles, HOVs, still hold a special place in exploration. These are the submersibles that carry scientists into the deep, placing human eyes in places most of humanity will never personally experience. From the iconic Alvin to newer models with sleek composite spheres, these submersibles are pressure-resistant marvels built to protect their passengers from forces that could collapse steel. Inside, space is typically cramped, 3 people squeezed into a sphere about the size of a compact elevator. But the view outside is priceless. The sub glides past alien landscapes illuminated by its external lights, revealing communities of life that shimmer like living stars and geological formations sculpted into impossible shapes. HOVs also offer something robots can't: the ability for human intuition to guide exploration in real time. A scientist might spot an unusual rock formation or curious creature and decide on the spot to investigate. They can make fine-scale judgments, subtle shifts in terrain, unexpected patterns of life that no amount of programming can replicate. Having a human aboard is like bringing a brain with built-in adaptability straight into the world's most inaccessible laboratory. Yet there's another class of machine that might be the most underrated: deep-sea landers. These devices are essentially robotic packages dropped to the ocean floor, equipped with cameras, traps, sensors, and weights. Once their mission is complete, whether collecting samples, recording animal behavior, or measuring environmental conditions, they release their weights and float back to the surface. Landers look deceptively simple, but they can withstand the crushing pressures of the deepest trenches. They've captured footage of snailfish dancing in the Hadal depths, documented the behavior of giant amphipods, and monitored chemical processes occurring kilometers beneath the waves. They're the quiet field researchers of the abyss, patiently watching and waiting while the rest of the world forgets they exist. Cabling technology also plays a major role. Underwater observatories, fixed stations anchored to the seafloor and connected to shore via fiber optic cables, provide continuous, real-time data from the deep. These observatories can run cameras, seismometers, chemical sensors, and biological monitors indefinitely. They allow scientists to watch vents erupt, track animal migrations, measure oxygen fluctuations, and observe phenomena that once vanished before researchers even arrived. Think of them as the deep ocean's permanent security cameras, though far more polite and significantly more scientific. And then there are hybrid vehicles, machines that combine features of ROVs and AUVs. These robots switch between autonomous modes and tethered control, depending on their mission. They chart new territory independently, then invite human pilots to take over when precision tasks are needed. They're the multitaskers of underwater exploration, able to handle everything from mapping to sample collection to delicate maneuvers around fragile environments. All of this technology exists because the deep sea is both extraordinarily difficult and extraordinarily compelling. The challenges are immense: crushing pressure, frigid temperatures, no light, unpredictable terrain, and logistical hurdles that make even simple tasks complex. But our curiosity is relentless. We keep building better robots, stronger submersibles, smarter AUVs, and more resilient sensors, because the deep ocean keeps offering surprises. Every dive returns something new: an unexpected species, a geological feature we didn't know existed, a glimpse into planetary processes happening far below our daily awareness. These machines are our eyes, hands, and curiosity incarnate, venturing into a realm where humans cannot linger. They wander the darkness with silent determination, mapping, sampling, observing, and returning to the surface with stories from the planet's most secret places. Deep sea exploration technology is, in many ways, humanity's love letter to the unknown. We build these machines not because the deep demands answers, but because we do. And so we send our metal explorers down again and again into the blackness, persistent, curious, and always ready to discover more. The history of deep-sea discovery reads like a series of plot twists written by an ocean that refuses to stick to any genre. One moment it's pure mystery, the next it's high drama, and every so often it delivers a creature so baffling that scientists briefly consider rewriting the laws of biology before taking a calming walk around the lab. Each new revelation from the depths reminds us that the ocean's darkest corners are not barren wastelands, but treasure vaults full of secrets we never knew to ask about. And perhaps no discovery better symbolizes that shift than the moment humanity finally confirmed that the legendary giant squid was real, and not just a maritime myth crafted by sailors with extremely active imaginations. For centuries, tales of tentacled monsters slithering beneath ships were dismissed as folklore. But slowly, whispers of truth emerged. Stranded behemoth carcasses washed ashore. Scars on whales hinted at battles taking place in pitch-black arenas far below. Then, in 2004, a team of Japanese researchers captured the first photographs of a living giant squid, followed by the first video in 2012. The images showed a creature with arms lined in formidable suckers, eyes as large as dinner plates, and a presence that felt far too calm for something long accused of sinking ships. Seeing one alive was like spotting a unicorn and discovering it had been quietly minding its business the whole time. For the first time, the world saw not a monster, but a remarkable animal, adapted for survival in a world without light. But the giant squid is just one spark in the constellation of deep-sea revelations. Decades earlier, in 1977, scientists exploring the ocean floor near the Galapagos Rift stumbled across something truly world-altering: hydrothermal vent ecosystems. They expected to find barren rock. Instead, they encountered towering chimneys spewing mineral-rich fluids, and entire communities of animals living in abundance around them. Tube worms taller than people, shrimp swarming in heated plumes, crabs picking through bacterial mats. It was an alien scene on our own planet. What stunned scientists wasn't just the biodiversity, but the fact that these organisms were thriving without sunlight. Life, it turned out, didn't need to follow the solar-powered blueprint that had defined biology for centuries. Chemosynthesis, a process previously theoretical, was suddenly alive, glowing, and waving its red plumes in the currents. This discovery rewrote textbooks with such force that the margins probably smouldered. Yet the vent communities were only the beginning of the deep sea's talent for surprise. In the years that followed, explorers began finding creatures that challenged our understanding of anatomy, physiology, and survival. One such star was the Yeti crab, discovered in 2005. With its fuzzy, cream-coloured bristles and endearing stance, it looked like a cross between a crustacean and someone wearing fluffy mittens. Those bristles weren't for fashion. They were covered in chemosynthetic bacteria, which the crab cultivated like a microscopic garden. Watching this crab gently wave its hairy arms to feed its microbial crop felt less like observing an animal, and more like watching a tiny underwater farmer tend a field that happened to be attached to his own body. Another headline stealer arrived with the discovery of vampire squid, not predators, but nutrient recyclers with an undeservedly ominous name. These enigmatic beings drift through the dark with webbed arms spread like an umbrella, using delicate filaments to collect sinking marine particles. Their look says, terrifying creature from the abyss, but their behavior says, slow-motion janitor politely tidying the twilight zone. This mismatch between appearance and lifestyle became one of the deep sea's favorite plot devices. Never trust first impressions in the dark. Perhaps even stranger was the discovery of the barrel-eye fish, whose transparent skull dome allowed researchers to see its rotating tubular eyes inside, looking upward through its own translucent forehead like biological periscopes. For decades, scientists couldn't understand how the fish fed, until one study revealed its eyes could pivot forward to track prey. It was a moment of aquatic revelation, the kind of "oh" that only emerges when biology stops being cryptic for half a second. The barrel eye instantly became a symbol of the deep sea's evolutionary creativity, not to mention a reminder that transparent skulls deserve more mainstream appreciation. Other discoveries have blurred the line between biology and chemistry. Consider the bone-eating worms, Osedax, found devouring the skeleton of a whale that had sunk to the seafloor. Lacking mouths, these worms absorb nutrients using root-like structures that burrow into bone. Their bodies host symbiotic microbes that digest fats and oils on their behalf. It's an arrangement that seems almost too bizarre to function, and yet it works beautifully in the deep sea's cyclical banquet of whale falls. These worms didn't just rewrite our understanding of decomposition. They reminded us that even in death, the ocean's organisms weave complex stories of partnership and adaptation. Then came the deep sea gelatinous oddities, colonies, siphonophores, and drifting ropes of life that can stretch longer than blue whales. Some of these colonial organisms coordinate thousands of specialized units, each performing a different task: capturing prey, digesting food, reproducing, or even generating propulsion. They're not individuals, not exactly, but not single organisms either. They are living collaborations, biological collectives, drifting through blackness, with lantern-like lights trailing behind them. The largest known siphonophore, discovered in 2020, may span over 45 meters, making it one of the longest animals ever recorded. Imagine discovering a creature longer than a city bus that looks like a glowing, floating lace ribbon, built from countless living parts. It's the sort of find that makes science pleasantly dizzy. And the hits keep coming. Deep-sea octopuses brooding eggs for years in icy water. Fish thriving in trenches previously assumed too harsh for vertebrates. Carbonate chimneys coated in life forms never seen before. Animals using magnetic cues, chemical gradients, or invisible spectra of light. Every dive reveals something new, often something wonderfully weird. Each submersible descent into unexplored terrain feels like flipping to the next page of a book that has no table of contents and no promises. What makes these discoveries so electrifying is not just their novelty, but the reminder that Earth's largest habitat remains mostly unexplored. More people have orbited the moon than have visited the deepest trenches of our own planet. The deep sea continues to defy expectations, offering creatures that glow, twist, stretch, farm, fuse, or simply exist in ways that seem almost fictional. Yet every discovery carries the same quiet message: the ocean still has stories to tell, and we've barely begun listening. The deep sea has always felt untouchable, a vast, remote sanctuary, insulated from the noise and chaos of the surface. For most of human history, it existed in a realm we could barely imagine, let alone influence. But as our footprint expands, the deep is no longer shielded by distance or darkness. Threats now seep downward, slowly, steadily, and with consequences that the creatures of the abyss never evolved to handle. The silent world beneath the waves is becoming louder, more polluted, and more vulnerable, and if the deep sea could file a noise complaint, it absolutely would. One of the most pressing concerns is deep sea mining, a process that sounds harmless in theory. After all, who's going to miss a few rocks sitting miles underwater? But in practice threatens entire ecosystems that have taken millions of years to form. Mining companies are eyeing metallic nodules scattered across the abyssal plains, viewing them as future resources for renewable energy technologies. These nodules contain valuable metals like cobalt, nickel, and manganese. Unfortunately, they also serve as habitats for countless organisms that cling to their surfaces, nestle beneath them, or graze on the microbial mats that coat them. Unlike forests or coral reefs, the deep sea floor doesn't recover quickly, or at all on human timescales. Nodules grow mere millimeters every million years. Imagine planting a tree whose branches expand by the thickness of a credit card per century. That's the pace the deep sea keeps. Mining these nodules means vacuuming up sediments, crushing habitats, and sending clouds of fine particles drifting through the water like an underwater dust storm. These sediment plumes can smother filter feeders, disrupt microbial processes, and erase biological communities before we even finish discovering them. It is essentially bulldozing an ancient, fragile world in pursuit of materials that may one day be replaced by greener technologies anyway. Pollution also reaches the deep sea with unsettling efficiency. Plastic, for example, does not politely stay near the surface where we can keep an eye on it. Instead, it breaks into smaller fragments, sinks, and accumulates in trenches, canyons, and abyssal plains. Deep sea creatures ingest it unintentionally, mistaking it for food or accidentally pulling it into their systems as they filter particles. Entire food webs are now laced with microplastics, which act like tiny chemical Trojan horses, harmless in appearance, dangerous in consequence. Toxins cling to plastic, entering animals and slowly working their way up the food chain. Even the most remote deep-sea amphipods, living in trenches deeper than Everest, is tall, have been found with microplastics in their bodies. If the deep sea had a theme song, it would now include the unsettling rattle of polymer fragments drifting where no polymer fragments should be. Chemical pollution follows a similar path. Industrial runoff, pharmaceutical residue, agricultural waste, and synthetic compounds all make their way downstream, through rivers, across coastlines, and eventually into the ocean's depths. These chemicals alter bacterial communities, disrupt reproductive cycles, and interfere with metabolic processes in species adapted to stable chemical environments. Many deep-sea organisms evolved for consistency, a world where temperature barely fluctuates, salinity holds steady, and chemistry remains predictable. When pollutants infiltrate that stability, it's like rearranging someone's meticulously organized filing system and then setting the room on a slow-moving conveyor belt. Noise pollution, though invisible, is one of the most pervasive threats of all. The surface ocean is increasingly filled with the growls of shipping engines, the hum of oil infrastructure, the rattle of industrial equipment, and the seismic blasts used for geological surveys. These noises travel downward with astonishing clarity. For animals that use sound to navigate, locate prey, or communicate across distances, noise is not just unpleasant, it's disorienting. Imagine trying to have a quiet conversation in a library while a construction crew jackhammers directly above you. Many deep-sea species rely on subtle cues, vibrations, low-frequency pulses, distant rumblings. When industrial noise infiltrates their world, it can mask these signals entirely. Whales lose contact with one another. Fish struggle to orient themselves. Animals that depend on long-distance acoustics effectively become mute to each other, like someone cut their communication wires. Silence, once the defining characteristic of the deep ocean, is becoming fragmented, broken by human activity that never needed an invitation to descend. And while climate change often gets discussed in terms of surface impacts, melting ice, shifting storms, rising temperatures, it also reshapes the deep. As the upper ocean warms, circulation patterns change. Less oxygen is delivered downward. Some deep water masses warm ever so slightly. Tiny shifts that still push sensitive organisms toward physiological stress. Acidification creeps steadily downward, dissolving shells, altering chemical balances, and making survival incrementally harder. The deep sea evolved in an environment defined by consistency. Now it faces a slow upheaval it never anticipated. Yet the tragedy of these threats is matched only by the irony. We barely understand the deep sea, and we're already endangering it. Most species living there have not been named. Most ecosystems have not been studied. Entire geological features remain unmapped. The abyss holds ancient bacteria that may influence global carbon cycles, strange animals that illuminate evolutionary mysteries, and habitats that could inspire future technologies or medicines. But the more we impact the deep, the more of these undiscovered treasures vanish without ever reaching the surface. The deep sea has no voice in policy discussions. It cannot protest, cannot march, cannot draft an op-ed. Its silence has always been its identity. But now that silence is at risk of becoming a casualty rather than a characteristic, the question facing us is not whether we value the deep ocean, but whether we act before the damage becomes irreversible. Protecting the deep is not a whimsical conservation project. It is essential to maintaining the stability of the planet's largest ecosystem, and by extension, our own future, because the abyss has always done its part, quietly regulating climate, supporting life, and absorbing the impacts of a world that rarely considers it. The least we can do is ensure that its silence remains a natural feature, not an unintentional memorial. Silence in the deep sea is not merely the absence of sound. It is a presence, a character, a kind of ancient companion that has shaped the life and landscapes hidden beneath the waves. It is a silence so complete that it becomes something more than quiet. It becomes a teacher. After exploring the labyrinth of the abyss, from glowing lures to crushing pressures, from methane gardens to roaming robots, it becomes clear that the deep is not just another ecosystem. It is a philosophical mirror reflecting truths about resilience, patience, and mystery. And in its hush, the ocean whispers lessons we often fail to hear on land. The first lesson from the deep is that resilience doesn't always look loud or dramatic. In the abyss, resilience is subtle, slow, and persistent. It's the snailfish that thrives under pressures that would flatten steel. It's the tube worm colony flourishing in the shadow of volcanic fluids. It's the microbe surviving on the barest whisper of chemical energy, dividing once every few centuries, yet somehow keeping its lineage alive through epochs. These creatures do not endure by overpowering their environment. They endure by adapting to it with an elegance that borders on quiet defiance. In a world where life seems so fragile that one wrong temperature shift could unravel it, the deep reminds us that resilience is often a form of patience. The deep also teaches us about mystery, the kind that is not threatening but inviting. We tend to think of mystery as a temporary condition, something to be solved and packaged neatly away. But the deep sea resists that impulse. Even with all our technology, each expedition reveals new questions faster than we can answer the old ones. A dive into a trench might uncover species no one has ever seen. A camera lowered into darkness might capture a shape that defies explanation. The deep keeps its secrets with the casual confidence of a world that knows it has time on its side. Billions of years of it, in fact. This kind of mystery is not frustrating. It is humbling. It reminds us that our understanding, however advanced, still skims the surface of knowledge, quite literally. The ocean's greatest truths lie miles below us, in places almost entirely untouched by sunlight or human presence. And maybe that is the point. Mystery draws us forward. It fuels curiosity. It invites wonder. Without unanswered questions, exploration would become routine. The deep sea, with its endless capacity to surprise, ensures we never fall into that trap. Another quiet lesson from the abyss concerns interconnectedness. Life in the deep seems isolated, separated by vast distances, layers of darkness and crushing pressure. But look closer, and you find an ecosystem woven together by chemical cycles, drifting particles, and the slow churn of ocean currents. A whale that dies at the surface becomes a feast for creatures miles below. A microbial film on a vent chimney supports tube worms, which support crabs, which support fish, creating a cascade of influence that stretches across species and depths. The deep is a place where energy is shared, repurposed, recycled with astonishing efficiency. Even in darkness, even in scarcity, nothing exists alone. This interconnectedness mirrors our own world in ways we often overlook. The deep sea regulates climate, absorbs carbon, supports fisheries, influences weather patterns, and nurtures biodiversity that ripples upward into surface ecosystems. Its silence supports our noise. Its stability tempers our volatility. Its hidden work makes the planet livable, though it receives little acknowledgement for its trouble. Perhaps the deep's great lesson here is that the most important systems in a society, or a planet, are often the quiet ones. But the deepest message from this silent realm is about listening. In our surface lives, noise is constant. Digital alerts, engines, conversations, rushing schedules, restless obligations. Silence becomes rare, uncomfortable even. But the deep sea offers a different model, a world where silence is the foundation for awareness. Down there, creatures attune themselves to vibrations, chemical whispers, subtle currents, faint gradients. They pay attention to what isn't loud. They survive by noticing. Imagine applying that mindset on land, listening not just to what is shouted, but to what is quiet. The deep invites us to hear the soft signals of our own planet, the shifting winds, the warming currents, the diminishing habitats, the stressed ecosystems. These signs rarely scream. They murmur. And if we fail to listen, the consequences will eventually speak loudly enough for all to hear. There is also a profound humility in acknowledging that the ocean doesn't need us, but we absolutely need the ocean. Its silence is not fragile. It has endured for geological ages, but it can be disrupted. Pollution, warming, resource extraction, noise, these intrusions creep downward, altering a world that evolved for consistency. The deep teaches us that silence itself is a resource worth protecting. It is the canvas on which life paints its slow, deliberate strokes. Without it, the ocean becomes a little less ancient, a little less mysterious, a little less whole. Yet even with these emerging threats, the deep still radiates a kind of resilience that borders on serene. Life has persisted through mass extinctions, shifting continents, fluctuating climates, and cosmic impacts. It will likely persist long after we are gone. But the question is not whether life will survive, it is whether the version of the world we cherish will. So the deep sea leaves us with a final thought. Wonder is a form of responsibility. When you witness the silent world beneath the waves, whether through a documentary, a submersible window, or a passing photograph, you are not just seeing beauty. You are seeing a reminder that Earth is bigger, older, and more complex than our species tends to remember. The deep asks us to listen, to protect, to marvel, to respect silence, not as emptiness, but as a presence filled with wisdom. In the end, the deep teaches us that silence is not the absence of life, it is the language of resilience, and if we listen closely enough, we just might hear the planet speaking.